All right, folks, how you doing? Welcome back. So, in today's presentation, we're going into the book When Scotland Was Jewish, the first and second waves of Jewish families. Disclaimer, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. And the primary source today, of course, is When Scotland Was Jewish by Elizabeth Caldwell Hirschman and Donald N. Yates. So we start with the first wave of Jewish families, 1100 to 1350 AD. And we begin with Clan Bruce and their motto, "We have been." Their branch is Sephardic and Davidic Jewish lineage. The Bruce family of Flanders and Normandy entered England in 1050 under Duke Richard I, who, if I'm not mistaken, was the father of William the Conqueror. It's either his father or his grandfather. So Clan Bruce inherited the earldom of Huntingdon from King David's royal line, from whom they gained the Scottish crown. The Bruce lineage shows a lot of Jewish names such as Adam, Emma, Isabel, David, Matilda, and Eleanor. King Robert the Bruce ruled from 1306 to 1329. He married Isabella of Mar of French Mediterranean ancestry. His second wife, Elizabeth the Boer, was of similar descent. The progeny of King Robert the Bruce went on to marry in with the Stuarts, who were Davidic Jews. The King's Heart. So, aware of their French Sephardic Jewish ancestry, the Bruces carefully selected their marital partners to preserve their Jewish heritage. After his death, his friend James the Black Douglas tried to carry the King's Heart to Jerusalem, but he was slain by Moors in Spain. The King's Heart was later recovered and is interred either at Dunfermline Abbey or Rosslyn Chapel. Clans Bruce, Mowbray, Plantagenet, and Beaumont display the lion rampants, as in the Lion of Judah, symbolizing that they all believed themselves to be of Jewish Davidic ancestry. And that marker that you see over on the right there, that's at Melrose Abbey. So speaking of Beaumont, that brings us to Commons Beaumont. The motto of the House of Beaumont was Erectus non elatus, proud but not arrogant. You can see the symbol of the Beaumont family on the left, with the fleur-de-lis and the lion rampant, all very symbolic.
I'm the man. I'm the man, Frank.
This map on the right, I found by sheer accident, by the way. That map is not in the latest version of Britain, the Key to World History for some reason, so I decided to include it in this presentation. It's not particularly clear, but, you know, if you kind of pause the video and zoom in, you can kind of make it out a little bit. But I don't know why that's not in the latest edition. That's a real head scratcher, that one. But anyway, I was able to find it. You can find it on like Google and that. But pretty interesting. The House of Beaumont being Davidic Jews, because one thing you find with Beaumont when you go through the presentations that I've done with Beaumont, you find that he knows the Bible like the back of his hand, and you could tell because he references it time and time and time and time again. He obviously had a very, very good knowledge of the Old Testament, particularly. That seems to be where his focus mainly is, in the Old Testament of the Bible. And granted, his theories are somewhat outlandish and controversial, but, you know, it's not for me to say either way whether he's right or wrong. It's just for me to present the ideas and let you make of them what you will. But very interesting. So Clan Campbell, their motto is "Forget not," and they are Sephardic. The Campbells arrived in Scotland due to anti-Jewish pogroms in Spain and France during the mid-14th century. Clan Campbell underwent a process of Gaelicization, concealing their French Jewish roots. Archibald Campbell, an ancestor of the Marquis of Argyll, married in with the Royal Stuarts. By the 16th century, the Campbells backed John Knox and the Protestant Reformation, breaking with the Catholic Stuarts. The Campbell coat of arms depicts a sailing boat, suggesting their Mediterranean Sephardic origins. And here you can see on the left-hand side, Archibald Campbell, the first Marquis of Argyll, and on the right-hand side, the Campbell coat of arms. So Clan Forbes, motto, Grace Me, Guide. They are Sephardic. The surname originated from the Moroccan Sephardic surname of Farabas, possibly related to Phoebus. A few branches of the Forbes clan colonized parts of the United States in South Carolina and Georgia. They were openly Jewish, worshipping in Spanish Portuguese synagogues, and were buried in Sephardic graveyards. Septs allied with Clan Forbes include the following: Berry, Boyce, Lumsden, Meekie, Middleton, Walter, Watson, and Watts. Interestingly, I'm descendant of Watson myself on my father's side. Middleton, that's interesting. The future queen is Kate Middleton, who is actually Jewish. If you look at her maternal lineage, on her mother's side, Goldsmith was German Jewish. You can look that up for yourself. Clan Fraser, their motto is "All my hope is in God," or "I am ready," because there's actually not one but two Clan Frasers. And they are Ashkenazic and Sephardic. And the Frasers knew their medieval roots lay in France, probably from Anjou and Normandy. Their septs include Bissett, Frew, Simpson, Simon, Oliver, Syme, MacTavish, Twaddle, and Tweedy. The name Fraser is derived from the French phrase meaning strawberry, and Frasiers were strawberry growers. Frasers first appeared in Scotland in 1160 when Sir Simon Fraser granted a church in East Lothian to monks at Kelso Abbey. The Frasers moved to Tweeddale in the 12th to 13th centuries, and from there to Stirling, Angus, Inverness, and Aberdeen. And on my father's side, I'm descendant of Clan Fraser. My father's mother was a Fraser, so St. Andrew's sarcophagus. 5 generations later, Sir Simon Fraser was captured fighting for King Robert the Bruce and horribly executed by King Edward I. The seal of William Fraser, Bishop of St. Andrews in 1279, shows a man in a centre tau, flanked by an Islamic crescent and a 6-pointed star. The line of bishops of St. Andrew include men of Judaic roots, including William Malvoisin, James Ben, and William Sheaves. St. Andrew's Cathedral Museum displays a sarcophagus marked with Templar imagery. The most remarkable artifact at St. Andrews is a sizable carved stone, you can see it on the right, dating from the late 8th century, showing King David battling lions. So Clan Leslie, their motto is "Grip Fast," and they are Sephardic. So the Leslies stem from Bartholomew Landslau, the Hungarian confidant of Queen Margaret of Scotland, who later served as her chamberlain. Sephardic Jews in England, France, and the Mediterranean were well known to serve as stewards to the nobility. Michael Desarian has been saying that for years on Unslaved. They were well-educated, multilingual, and well-traveled. The origin of the term Chamberlain came from the Orient, which means it came from the East, connected with high ranks in the Islamic caliphates. The Leslies in Scotland became the Earls of both Leven and Ross, with both place names having Judeo-Hebraic roots. Well, yeah, they certainly do sound like it. Clan Douglas, their motto is "Never Behind," and they are Sephardic. The Douglases first arrived in Britain around 1300 in the Scottish borders. Douglas DNA hints at a Gothic Iberian origin, and the word Douglas translates to "dark stranger" in Gaelic. Obvious reference to their complexion. Famous septs of Clan Douglas include Blackstock, Brown, Blalock, Drysdale, Forrest, Inglis, Kirkpatrick, Lockerbie, Morton, and Young. I'm also descendant of Young on my father's side. He was born, oh sorry, I think I've skipped a bit there. William Douglas was the first recorded Douglas. He was born in 1174 and was brother-in-law to Freskin the Fleming, who arrived in Scotland during the reign of King David I. So the second Duke of Queensberry, both Freskin the Fleming and William Douglas came from families in Flanders and may have been connected to the House of Bouillon. Well, I guarantee they were. The Douglases were regularly betrothed to the royal Stuarts, married amongst themselves with their own Douglas cousins, and amongst other notable Jewish families such as Forbes, Hay, and Leon. The Greek name of George showed up frequently in their lineage, possibly highlighting a connection to the old Byzantine world. The second Duke of Queensberry, James Douglas, was the man who committed Scotland to the Act of Union in 1707. And the Douglas clan, if you look into them, if you want to draw an analogy with Game of Thrones, they were almost a bit like the Lannisters. I mean, they were powerful, really powerful, the Douglases, especially in the border areas with England. Clan Gordon, their motto is "Remaining," and they are Ashkenazic and Sephardic. Clan Gordon established themselves in south-central Scotland in the 14th century. They then moved to Aberdeen, where they set up guilds dealing in silver mining, banking, international trade, tin work, and leather tanning. The Gordons seem to have originated in France. Their original name, Jardine, means gardener. They believe their origins were Macedonian before migrating to Spain for a time. Then they moved to the south of France before finally emerging in Britain with William the Conqueror. Common septs include Aiken, Blair, Carnegie, Davidson, Fleming, Glass, Hay, Henderson, Hepburn, Bean, Muir, Napier, Oliphant, Pollock, and Weir. Clan Stuart. Their motto is "Courage grows stronger at the wound," and they're Sephardic and Davidic. So the early Stuarts descend from the seneschals of Dol in Brittany, France, and arrived in England with William the Conqueror. Walter the Stewart arrived in Scotland with King David I and was appointed Steward of Scotland. He was given estates in Renfrewshire and East Lothian. James V, High Steward of Scotland, swore loyalty to King Edward I, but switched to William Wallace's side and later joined Robert the Bruce. Walter Stewart married Marjorie Bruce, the king's daughter, thus securing Scotland's crown after the death of King David II. In fact, James V, High Steward of Scotland, his brother was John Stewart, and he was one of the main commanders at the Battle of Falkirk in 1298. In fact, John Stewart actually died in that battle, fought down to the last man with great courage, great honour. Deserves a mention. I think I've mentioned him before, though. I should have mentioned him when I did videos on the Battle of Falkirk, trying to remember. Yeah, I'm certain that I did mention John Stewart. Him and what's his name? John Comyn. They were the two principal commanders actually at the Battle of Falkirk, according to Henry the Minstrel, and William Wallace didn't have as prominent a role in that battle as people think he did. But that's subject for another time. But yeah, that was the brother of James, the 5th High Steward of Scotland. So King James VI and the First. So we got Walter's son and Bruce's grandson became King Robert II. The line of the Stuarts continued unbroken with male heirs until the birth of Mary, Queen of Scots. Her son, King James VI of Scotland, James I of England, united the crowns of Scotland and England in 1603. The Stuarts clung to the British throne right up until 1714. Septs connected to the Stuarts with Sephardic roots include Lombard, Lyle, Lay, Lewis, Robb, Mitchell, Glass, and Jameson. Many Scottish Jewish lines connect with Norman, Frankish, Flemish, and Hungarian families who came to Britain between 1050 and 1150 AD. So we got Hungarian and Khazar origins. Queen Margaret, the wife of Malcolm III Canmore, had Jewish ancestry of Hungarian and Khazar origins. Her ancestry went back to Zoltan.
Zoltan!
And his consort, the daughter of Maroth, the prince of Bihar of Khazar origins, and Giza, prince of the Hungarian Magyar. His daughter wed the Hungarian king Samuel Abba. King David I also married a Jewish woman, Maud de Lens, or Matilda, whose line went back to Louis the Pious, king of the Franks in the 9th century. His descendants included William the Conqueror. So the House of Bouillon. Isabel of Mar, King Robert the Bruce's first wife, was mother to Marjorie Bruce. She was also the grandmother of King Robert II. Her roots traced back to Iago, Jacob of Idwal, king of Gwynedd in Wales. Mary de Guise, the wife of King James V, had a great deal of Middle Eastern and Mediterranean blood. Her ancestors included Isaac Angelos, Stephen of Armenia, Isabella of Cyprus, Judith Bonne of Bohemia, and Louise, Duke of Saxony. Many Scottish clans had ties to the House of Bouillon and the kings and queens of the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Well, I would argue all the way back to biblical Jerusalem, come to that. So here we've got the second wave of Jewish families, 1350 to 1700. Clan Caldwell, their motto is do and hope. And they're Sephardic. The Caldwells came to southwest Scotland from France around 1550 after suffering extensive harassment from the Roman Catholic Church in Spain. Their ancestors were said to have belonged to two groups from Italy, the Albigenses, is that how you say it? Albigenses and Waldenses, who were reputed to have been Protestant. After being persecuted out of Italy, they settled in a village called Toulon in France near Mount Aude. I don't know how you say that properly. Mount Aude, Mount Aude. Yeah, you can see it. From there, the Proto-Caldwells had ties to infamous Algerian pirates called the Barbarossas. The name Barbarossa meant red-bearded and was thought to have been European in origin. Wasn't it German? I mean, during World War II, you had Operation Barbarossa, so I presume it was Germanic. King Francis I. So these pirates were swiftly crushed by the governor of Aran. Three Caldwell brothers, John, Alexander, and Oliver, put their naval expertise to good use and amassed a fleet. Spanish merchants hired the brothers to clear out the remaining pirates in the Mediterranean. Such was their success that they were highly regarded by King Francis I, after which they went home to Toulon. But upon their return, the brothers found France in chaos, with two of the main Protestant groups, the Huguenots and the Piedmontese, undergoing persecution. This all way firth. So as a result, the Proto-Caldwells moved to Spain and from there to Scotland. The Caldwells arrived via the Solway Firth during the reign of King James VI and bought estates from a wealthy bishop who was also a landholder. They then sent back for the rest of their tribe, having found a place to permanently settle, but in order to acquire the full title for their new lands, they had to swear fealty to the crown. Well, that's standard practice, really. Despite adopting the Protestant faith, it seems likely that the Proto-Caldwells were originally Sephardic Jews and or Moorish. Clan Kennedy. Their motto is "Consider the end," and they are Sephardic.
Congratulations. How do you feel?
I gotta pay.
The Kennedys arrived in Scotland around 1360 following an anti-Jewish pogrom in France. The territories were named Cassilis, stemming from the Sephardic name Cassel, which is nowadays a Kennedy set, as is Clan Ulrich, which may have been of Germanic Swiss origin. They also have strong ties to the Carrick family, whose original name was thought to have been Candiani or Canadae, which sounds a lot like Canada when you think about it. I don't think that is the origin of Canada in terms of the name of the country, but it sounds similar. And I thought the Kennedys were Irish, but nope, not originally they weren't. They were Sephardic. Clan Alexander, by sea, by land. So they're Sephardic. The Alexanders arrived in Scotland in the early 16th century while the Spanish and Portuguese Inquisitions were ongoing.
Unbelievable.
Do you have a different view, Doctor?
Sounds like the goddamn Spanish Inquisition to me.
Alexander was a Greek name in origin and was popular amongst Mediterranean and Middle Eastern Jews. They settled near Stirling and the English border. No, sorry, I misread that. They settled near Stirling and the English border. Yeah, I did right. What we talked about, I did read that right. And the English border near ports with French and Mediterranean connections. So the Alexander Earls of Stirling married into other Scottish Sephardic clans such as Forbes and Douglas. The popularity of Alexander as a Jewish surname sprang from Alexander the Great's famous visits to the Temple of Jerusalem, covered that before, and favourable treatment towards the Jews within his empire. Clan Cowan, their motto is "This is the way to heaven," which is Ashkenazi, Sephardic, Davidic, and Levite. So ticking all the boxes. So the Cowans are to be found in Ayrshire, Dumfriesshire, the Lowland counties, and Stirling. The coat of arms of various branches of Clan Cowan display many highly Judaic symbols, such as the Tau Kabbalistic X and the French fleur-de-lis, the Jewish lily, the House of David. Although openly Presbyterian by the 1600s, many Clan Cowan members were called Kohanim or Cohen. They were of Sephardic Jewish extraction, although some may have also had Ashkenazi and Levite origins. So Levites are the priesthood class, aren't they? All the way back to the time of Moses. So Levite origins, that's very prestigious. International trades. The Presbyterian faith served as a haven for crypto Jews from Scotland and Ireland in North America who settled in and around the Appalachian Mountains. Some came to be known as the Malungians. The 6 sons of an Alexander McCowan were known as the Blacks and the Reds, as half of them had jet black hair, dark eyes and skin, and the other half had red hair and fair skin. Clan Cowan is a good example of French and Iberian Jewish families who arrived in Scotland during the 16th century. They soon established highly lucrative international trading connections with places such as Danzig, Hamburg, Sweden, and Russia. So that concludes the presentation. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, feel free to leave your thoughts and comments down below. And I'll see you next time.